Good morning. In Mark chapter 3, we find the account of Jesus being in the synagogue on the Sabbath. And there's a man there with a withered hand. Now Jesus looks around because the scribes and Pharisees are there, and he says to them, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath day to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?" They didn't answer. Then Jesus, grieved to find them so obstinate or hard-hearted, he looked angrily around at them and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand," and it was healed. The scribes and Pharisees went off to find some way to destroy Jesus. And can you imagine the logic behind this? This man, Jesus Christ, had cured this poor man's hand, and they want to destroy the healer? Beyond belief. Now, William Barclay has a lot to say about this passage. In his book on New Testament words, he said, "The scribes and Pharisees had so long identified religion with rules and regulations that they couldn't recognize real religion when they saw it. They'd forgotten that the law of God was to love God, to love your neighbor, to want to do kindness, to act justly, mercifully. They'd forgotten all that. No, you had to stick to their rules." So how does this connect with Watchtower? Well, Watchtower has developed a lot of their own rules. Now, how did they do this and why? Mostly, or some of it, was to do with legal cases. They were having to defend so many legal cases that they thought to themselves, how are we going to prevent these legal cases? Now, instead of going to the scriptures and saying to themselves, what are we doing that could be against God's law that's resulting in these legal cases? No, they didn't say that. We're right. Consequently, we're just going to find a way around it. So they made their own rules. They fiddled with those little rules that you have in the Elders textbook, which is why you keep having new versions of it. They have to keep developing their own rules to suit oncoming situations. Now, Barclay has this to say: whenever a man sets his own ideas in the place that God should take, whenever he stubbornly goes his own way, he's on the way to a condition in which his heart is petrified. His heart, his conscience become insensitive, and his eyes are blind. So what's the answer then? Well, there's three things. One is knowledge, that is wisdom, and you get that from reading the scriptures. As the Bible says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So read the Bible, learn a lot. Secondly is prudence, and that's the practical application of that wisdom. And thirdly, you need good judgment. Now, Barclay has this to say on good judgment. He says it's the power of distinguishing between different courses of action, different values of things, different relationships between people. It's the ability to test and distinguish, to criticize, to evaluate, and to form judgments. Now, in a court of law, or in the Israelites' court of law, you had laws, which were you weren't to murder, you weren't to steal, there's no immorality, and so on. But you only had a couple of rules. One was the judges must not be prejudiced. They can't have leanings one way or the other between the people in front of them. Secondly, they must investigate thoroughly. And they must have good evidence for what they're going to judge upon. Now, Watchtower goes beyond that, and they've made up a pile of rules. Now, the problem is, and I'm going to say this twice, that rules push intelligence out of a situation. If you have rules governing judgment, you can't use knowledge and judgment. You can't use insight, because you've got to stick to this pile of rules. So Watchtower's rules have pushed out wisdom, logic, and good judgment. I'll just give you one short answer, one short example. With children, for instance, and this has come up in some awful stories lately, no child is a willing participant in any immoral ongoings. Children can be led, they can be groomed. They are not willing participants. Now, if Watchtower doesn't have the insight and the knowledge to know that, they shouldn't be judging and they shouldn't go anywhere near dealing with children because they don't have the ability to do it. Sorry, get angry about that. So, where do we end up? Please develop knowledge and wisdom. Now, these three things come from three Greek words, and I'm not going to pronounce them, but I'll write them underneath. And if you've got a lexicon or something, look them up and see how important these are to judges and all of us, really. Now, on a lighter note, someone was asking what's outside this window. So I'll try to add a short video of what's going on outside. It's not very pretty at the minute. It's not very tidy, but notice the rabbit. And thank you so much for watching this morning.